Hi, how are you? Welcome back to my channel for week 2 Holiday Hell-a-thon wrap-up. Ended up reading 4 books, watched 2 movies, did some of my paint by number, and I went to a Christmas play. So other than that, didn't get out of the house, didn't see holiday lights yet, didn't do anything like that. It's just been one of those months, you know what I mean? It just happens. I will be right back after this short clip. First of all, let me tell you about the movies I watched. I only watched 2. First one was Falling for Christmas. It's another Lindsay Lohan movie. She is this heiress, very spoiled, has everything, the world at her feet, and she has literally just been proposed to. He has literally just proposed. And he is very obnoxious. This dude is very obnoxious, pretentious. He's an influencer, and he's literally just proposed, and she ends up having this accident on the ski slope, and she hits her head. And she's unconscious, and then she gets rescued by this handsome stranger. And this guy owns this very cozy, snowy ski resort, and it's very Christmassy and whimsical. Well, while she's trying to piece together who she is, trying to figure it all out, you know, he just takes her in, and, you know, you pretty much know what's going to happen. It's very Hallmarky, but yeah, it's just very, very cute and sweet. And then the other movie I watched is a Kelsey recommendation. Kelsey from Slime and Slasher. She's the mastermind behind Holiday Hell-a-thon. This is a Kelsey rec, and that is Home Alone 2. I absolutely love the Home Alone movies, not all of them, the first 2. And in this one, he is in New York City. Of course, he gets separated from his dad in the airport, and he ends up on a flight to New York City instead of to Florida, where the rest of his family is going. And yeah, he's in New York City, and he's still running from bad guys and up to his usual antics. So very, very funny and just fun. Typical fun. It's one of those, again, that I like to rewatch from time to time. Just had a lot of fun with it. You probably saw in the clip, I got quite a bit done with my paint by number. This is where we are with it. It's looking really good. It's looking like I know what I'm doing. Loving it. And then I went to a Christmas play. My kids' school, they're at a very, very tiny school. They're not in public school at all. Not able to homeschool them right now. Long story. But they're not in public school, but they're in a very small school. And their small school put on a Christmas play. And it was really fun. It was really funny. Let me tell you, my daughter, she's 9. And she's very quirky. She's always been quirky and eccentric, and she marches to the beat of her own drum. She doesn't care about anything. She doesn't care what people think. She never has. I love that about her. It's very admirable. I have 2 kids very opposite, okay? I have one that cares about everything, worries, stresses over everything. That's my son. And I have the other one who doesn't care about anything. She doesn't care about shit. My son is 11, and he did not want to go. He did not. He worried about it, stressed over it, amped himself up over it for the last 2 weeks. You know, I don't want to go. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to do it. Can't believe they're making me do this. I really don't want to do this. Like, why do I have to do this? And he talked about it the whole way, like, oh, I don't want to. I need to stress eat. Like, whatever. That's what he talked about the whole time. And my daughter was very excited about it. Like, you know, yeah, I get to go. I'm very excited. Like, what do I get to wear? You know, she's amped up. Okay. And my, so funny. So, my daughter, they each had 2 songs. Both of their classes had 2 songs. Okay. My daughter, they have these, what are called boom whackers. I don't know if you know what that is. They're these giant plastic things that they bang on their hand. I'm not going to show you a video because I don't show them online. But they're these giant plastic things that they bang on their hand. Like, they're very long. And they bang them on their hand. Okay? The rest of the class is very normal. They're having a great time with these instruments or whatever. My daughter, of all these people, and she's very small. She's tiny. She's like 4'2". She weighs like 56 pounds. So she's in the front. And first of all, she's giggling. As soon as she comes on the stage, I already know it's going to be a fiasco because she is giggling as soon as she comes on the stage. She's laughing and she's got her hand on her mouth and she's talking to everybody. And I'm like, oh boy, what is this going to be? I already know. And my mom and I look at each other like, oh no, like, what is she about to do? And yeah, I took some video, but I'm like, oh my gosh. So she's talking to her friends And the first song, they don't sing at all. They're just banging these things on their hands. So the whole time she's talking to her friends while she's doing the song. And she's just like, she's laughing and she's talking to her friends while she's doing the song. And like, as her parts come where she's banging on her hand with these things, she bangs on her hand, she's like, ow. She does this. She hits the thing on her hand every time. I'm like, none of the other kids are doing this. None of the other kids act like this is painful. But every single time she hits the thing on her hand, she's like, oh. Like, what? Only my child. Why is she making a big deal out of this? Why is it such a big thing? And it is such drama. It is such drama. Between that and the laughing and talking to her friends the whole time, I am like, oh my God. Why? Why is this such a thing? I don't know. But none of the other kids were making a big scene. Only mine. And she is in the front row. She's at the front of everybody. So yeah, that happened. And then my son, on his part, of course, he's 11. So his is at the end. Because his whole class is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They all have a class together. I told you this is a very small school. And he's in the back row. Because, you know, he's one of the taller kids. And he's in 6th grade. And so he's one of the taller kids. He's in the back. And he's just the whole time like, because he's pissed that he's having to do it. And you can tell he's not singing. He's just like lip singing. He's like not having it. And every now and then he'll get a word. And that's it. And the whole time he's just like pouting. He's not happy with me at all. And I made him wear a Santa hat because last minute they changed it. Originally it was white gloves. And then they changed it to a Christmas themed hat. And all I had was my Santa hat. He wore this hat. And he was so mad that I made him wear it. Because like I said, they changed it to a Christmas themed hat. That's all I have. You told me last minute. He told me literally 45 minutes before time for me to go, he told me that they changed it to a Christmas themed hat. And I was like, this is all I have, dude. And luckily when we got there, all the boys had Santa hats. That's all they had. And I'm like, other boys have Santa hats. You're fine. Other boys have Santa hats too. You're not the only one. All of them have Santa hats. Like, you're welcome for your mom being on trend. Like, look how cool I am. He did not care. He did not care. He did not care how cool his mom was at all. He was not thrilled. So yeah, the whole time he's just like pouting. You could tell he's pouting. So yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, they were so opposite up there. One was pouting, one was laughing. It was wild. So that was the activities I've done. Yeah, and we'll get into the books now. I read 4 books. Well, I finished 4 books. I didn't read them all in a week because one of them took me longer than a week. First one was Nosferatu by Joe Hill. Now, let me tell you, I read this one for Fright Club, which is hosted by Christine with Secrets Read and Cliff with Cliff's Dark Gems. This was an excellent pick. So good. I was going to try to... So, this was a chunky book. It was a chunker. So, my plan was to drag this out through the whole month and read a little bit each week and drag it out. It was so good that I couldn't stop reading it. So I already finished it because it was that good. It was excellent. Very interesting characters, very well-rounded characters. The plot, excellent. It was so good. So good. So good that you can't stop reading it. You can't stop. Yeah, the scene setting, the very, very scary characters. There were some creepy kids. The adults were very scary. Like Mr. Manx, like the main bad guy, terrifying. Like very terrifying. And then this other bad guy, Bing. Is his name Bing? So Bing is like a guy who is helping Manx, and he's somehow worse than Mr. Manx. Like, Bing is truly, truly horrible. He's awful. And to me, he was even worse than Mr. Manx. Bing is like, he's the worst, to me. Like, I know Manx is like, Mr. Manx is like the true bad guy, but to me, Bing was worse. He was horrible. Christmas Land was very interesting. The whole concept of this was really interesting, and for Joe Hill to be able to dream this whole thing up is wild to me. Like, he's got a very interesting mind. It was so wildly creative and imaginative. It was magical. And for it to be so full of magic and also so terrifying is crazy. And I felt so much for Vic. I definitely wanted to know more of like Manx's backstory and how he came to be and how Christmas Land came to be and how it all worked, you know what I mean? But I don't even care. I still gave it 5 stars. Like, normally that's something that I would like have docked points for, like just not knowing. But I think that's part of the magic almost, is the not knowing, because it was so freaking cool. It was such a freaking cool concept. It was very action packed. While it was a chunky book, I don't feel like any part of it was wasted. I don't feel like any of it dragged on. I never felt like this needs to hurry up. I never felt like any of it was slow. A whole world was built here. And it was just so freaking good. Like, that's just all I can really say about it. It was so very, like, just disturbing and scary. And it had lots of, like, just so many scary on the edge of my seat moments, and then there were also like some heartfelt moments, and I mean, it was just, it had everything. It had all of it. And it touched on like all my feelings, and it had a little bit of everything in here. Having read this is my second Joe Hill book, and after reading Horns and then reading this one, like, there's no comparison. This one was so freaking good. And yeah, this one shows his potential. This one shows his true potential. It's so freaking imaginative and so freaking creative and so just immersive. I was fully transported into this world. I feel like I'm not saying enough because there was so much to this, but then I also don't want to give anything away. Like, there's a fine line between saying enough and not saying too much. You know what I mean? But I'm going to save anything more until the live show, when Cliff and Christine do their live show, because they will do a whole live show on this at some point where we'll like talk all of it. And I can't wait for that. I can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts, and I can't wait to really dive into this, because there's a whole lot to this. And yeah, it's so good. So good. I can't talk about this enough. I can't wait. But yeah, it's definitely worth a read, and it's definitely one that I could see myself rereading. And now I want the physical copy, because I read this one on Kindle, and I will definitely want a physical copy of this one. Next up, I read Snowball by Andre Gonzalez. This one is about an evil elf on the shelf. This family, like, they're a young family. They have 2 small children, and like the children are very young. Like, one is a baby. I think she's maybe like 18 months old or something. The other one is 4 years old. And they get an elf on the shelf, and the mom like gets it at a thrift store. And some creepy things start happening around the house. And it starts off kind of subtle, and then it gets more and more creepy. And yeah, this gets like some really terrifying things happen in this book. And let me tell you, like, no one is safe. No one is safe in this book. And if you have any kind of triggers, you want to check them. I won't tell you. I feel like if I tell you what happened, like if I tell you any triggers, it might give it away. But there was one thing that I don't particularly like to read about that like is in this, and I wasn't prepared for it. So yeah, if you have things you maybe don't like to read about, maybe you want to check triggers, you know what I mean? But yeah, there was something that I wasn't quite prepared for. Luckily it didn't like describe it as it was happening. It was after the fact. That saved me, but I was like, ugh. Anyways, this was really good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. Even with that, I gave it 4 stars. Really creepy, very gory, really creepy ass elf on the shelf. And yeah, just that whole feeling of like something watching, and yeah, not knowing what's gonna happen next and when it's gonna, oh, it was nice and creepy. And also, like, just nobody is safe in this, and not knowing the lengths it's gonna go to, and not knowing how far it's gonna take it. Yeah, it was it went there. So yeah, it's a short read, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have the Christmas Murder Game. The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. Read this one on Kindle. Okay, so yeah, this one I gave 2 stars. Yeah, this was not as cool and not as good as I expected it to. And this one, like, honestly, I thought about even rating it lower, but I'm going to give it 2 stars just because it did have the vibes. It had a good setting. I'm in between a 1 and a 2, honestly. Like, I might even rate it lower. So Lily's mom died like 21 years ago, and Lily's having to return to this, you know, her childhood home on Christmas, or before Christmas. It's like 12 days before Christmas. And there are 12 clues, 12 keys, 12 days before Christmas. And there's this game between her and her cousins. She receives, like, Lily had no intention of going, but there's a game to decide who gets the deed to the house. Lily had no desire to even get the house. Like, she really didn't want it, but she gets this letter from her aunt promising her, like, hey, I know you don't, you know, want the house or whatever, but there's more to it than that. If you participate in the game, I promise you'll also get the answer to who killed your mother, because your mom, you know, actually was murdered. The game has all these riddles and that. So this sucked. This sucked. I did not care for it at all. Like, I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. This doesn't happen very often, but there really weren't that many redeeming qualities in this book, if any. The house was really cool. I will give it that. The setting was really good. It was snowy. They're stuck there, so you have the remote setting. The house was really cool. That was the only really redeeming quality in this book. Okay, the writing sucked. The metaphors were absolutely ridiculous. The writing was absolutely ridiculous. I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. Even Lily, like, first, I find it really, really not really believable that she didn't want the house. Like, who doesn't want a house? Like, even, I don't I just find that really weird. Like, even if you went all the way there just to find out the real truth about your mom, like, and she just was like, oh, that's fine. Like, they can have the house. You came all that way, you might as well fight for it. Like, you know what I mean? I just found that really weird and really unbelievable too. And then also her cousins, like, especially, I mean, most of her cousins were pretty insufferable, especially one in particular. Like, I would have fought for it just for fucking spite at that point, honestly. Maybe I'm not as good of a person as Lily, because, like, they just painted her as, like, this, you know, I don't know. But I would have got it just so that one bitch couldn't get it, honestly. I would have fought just so that one couldn't get it. And then the riddles, like, I mean, make it to where the reader can, like, make it so the reader can try to figure it out too. But the riddles were ones that we would have no idea, because it were only ones that would be personal to them, that only they would know. You know what I mean? So, like, the way the synopsis was written was stuff that maybe we could figure out too, but it was stuff that the reader would have no idea. So, like, there's nothing in it for us to figure out. So, like, what fun is it to us? And then, yeah, the characters, I didn't give a shit. And then Lily was like a spineless jellyfish. She just lets everybody walk all over her, and she just like, oh, that's fine, I'll allow it. I don't know. I don't talk a lot of crap about a lot of books, but this one sucked. It really did, honest to God, suck. It sucked. It sucked so bad. The writing was awful. It was just really bad. It was just really bad. It was really awful. I don't say that about a lot of books. This one was really bad. It's just, I expected a lot more from it, and the way it was written, the synopsis, like, I just thought it was going to be a lot cooler than it was. And it was also like, I predicted the killer almost immediately. It was just so damn predictable. I was like, oh, I've got it. Like, it's just, it was so easy to figure out. Like, I pretty much knew who the killer was right away. I'm like, oh, I've got it. And I was right. So, yeah, it was so easy to figure out. So yeah, don't waste your time, honestly. I don't say that about a lot of things. Like, I'm usually like, oh, well, you might still like it if blah, blah, blah. No, don't. Just don't. So, that sounds mean. It sounds really mean, and I don't say that a lot of times, but just... and then lastly, for my TikTok book club, I finished The Good Part by Sophie Cousens. This one, Lucy is, starts out, she's 26 years old. She's at the time of her life where, she's in a flat share, and she's sharing it with like a lot of really inconsiderate people, mostly, except for her best friend Zoya. But everybody else is like really inconsiderate, like really inconsiderate. And she's, struggling with her career, and she's struggling with money, and she's struggling with all these different things. Well, she comes across a wishing machine, and she wishes to kind of fast forward to the good part of her life where she's got everything figured out and she's like happily married and all these things. When she wakes up, she has accidentally fast forwarded to the good part of her life where she wakes up and she's laying beside a man she doesn't recognize, and she is accidentally married, and she has 2 kids already and all this, but she doesn't remember how she got there. So she's accidentally fast forwarded to 16 years in the future. So she's fast forwarded to the good parts, but she's missed everything else. Like, she doesn't remember anything else. There's some hard surprises along the way as she's navigating her future self and her future life, and navigating motherhood that she is thrown into, and marriage that she's thrown into, and all this. But there's some hard surprises along the way. So she's kind of trying to figure out, does she want to go back? Does she want to go back to being 26, or is the good part where she wants to stay? So it's very thought-provoking. It was very well written, I thought. I really enjoyed it. The characters were really well developed. Some of it was, there are other books out there like this. As far as like the whole time travel thing and like wishing to be different parts of your life and stuff. But there were some new things too that I haven't ran across. So it was like, parts of it wasn't a new concept, but then it was kind of like a different way. You know what I mean? But I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It was thought-provoking. It made me appreciate my life right now, honestly. It made me, which I appreciate. I love where I am anyways. And this is a really good one for book club because we had the best conversations about this one. The main host, my friend Heather, like, she was asking us, like, would you, like, if you had an opportunity to go back, like, none of us wanted to go forward. We're like, no. But if any of us had an opportunity to go back and do anything different, would we? And some of us would have, like, the ones without kids were like, yeah, we would. But me, like, the ones of us with kids, most of us were like, no, I wouldn't, because we were like so afraid we wouldn't have the same kids we have now. But then she was like, well, what if you were guaranteed to have the same kids you have now? Would you? And we were like, yeah. But, like, I'm so happy where I am now. Like, but I guess if I could go back and, like, maybe go back to, if I could go back and do the school thing over again and stay in college and all that, I probably would, as far as that goes. But I'm really happy where I am now. So anyways, it brought about some really good conversations. This was a really good one for book club because we had the best conversations with it. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this made me so appreciate where I am right now, because I think we all have those moments where it's like, oh my God, can I just get to where I want to be? Can I, you know, we rush through life so much. And I think we all go through those moments where we're not appreciating where we are right now. We're not appreciating the journey. And this made me appreciate the journey so much. You know what I mean? Like, this definitely put things into perspective. So I really appreciated that book, this book for that. I really enjoyed it. I really had a good time with it. I gave it 4 stars. So, and that was just for the ending. It wasn't an awful ending. I just wanted a little bit more from it, but I really, really liked it. I liked it a lot. And like I said, it put things into perspective for me. And any book that can do that is a great book. So that's it. That's all the things. That's quite a long discussion for just the little bit of things I did. Next week, you're getting 2 videos. On Monday, which is the 23rd, you're getting my 1-year BookTube anniversary Q&A, because Monday is exactly 1 year since I started this journey. So yeah, Monday you're getting my Q&A video, and then next Friday you're getting my week 3 Holiday Hell-a-thon wrap-up. So I will see you next Monday. Bye for now.